please give a warm welcome to Brian DiMarino.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for the introduction, and thank you to Climeworks for having me here. I didn't trip on the way up, so the first fear of public speaking was avoided, so that's good. I'm here because JPMorgan announced a commitment to $200 million of CDR offtake, about 800,000 tons of carbon removal in the next 9 years. Part of that commitment was with Climeworks, which was mentioned, the largest CDR offtake from Climeworks. And so a huge thank you to the team at Climeworks for developing what they did, viewing us as a real buyer, and negotiating with us to get to this point. I am not, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist, I'm not someone who has been working in this space for a really long time. My role at JPMorgan running operational sustainability goes back only 2 years. I'm a 17-year veteran of JPMorgan, but I've only been doing this for a couple of years. But something I've learned being in the corporate space for that long is that you have to bring people along on a journey with you. If you truly believe in what you're doing, and you believe that what you're doing can make change, you should bring people along on that journey. And so about a year ago, JPMorgan started writing a paper. We released that paper in conjunction with announcing these carbon offtakes. And that paper talked about our principles around the carbon market. What do we believe as a corporation, as a global citizen, is important around carbon removal? And so we put that into words. And it took us quite some time to do it. But we also looked at it from the perspective of a financier. We're not just a buyer, we're a bank. And so as JPMorgan, we can also underwrite these companies, we can finance them, we can do project finance, we can do equity raises, we can do a lot of different things. And so how do we think about that from that perspective? And as we were doing that, we came upon a very simple realization, which was simply writing this down is not enough. We have to do something. JPMorgan has been buying carbon credits since 2007. Obviously heavily nature-based, pretty much only nature-based until a couple of years ago. But there was a clear recognition that we needed to do more and we needed to move closer to the CDR space. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the voluntary carbon market and sort of this question around how can it structurally drive the industry, but I also want to define the carbon market maybe in a different way than you think about it. And so the way I think about it, and I'm a pretty simple guy, so I think about things in pretty simple terms. The way I think about it is well, break it down. First of all, voluntary. I look forward to the day when we can drop the V, and this is no longer a voluntary decision for corporations or governments or individuals to take accountability and stewardship for their emissions. For now, there's a V, but I would love for that to go away one day. Carbon, we all know what carbon is. I hope you do. If you don't, turn to the person next to you. They definitely know what it is. And then it's a market. But what is a market? A market's a place for people to come together to trade things. Historically, it was a place for people to trade livestock and food. We've just used the term for years and years now to trade other things. But what the voluntary carbon market is not, it is not renewable energy, it is not hydrogen, it is not equities, it is not commodities, it is its own unique thing. And it is young, and it is relatively immature in that way, and it needs to find its place, but I know that we can all help it get there. And so one of the ways we believe we can do that is by putting our name behind certain companies, many companies if we can, to support the market. So what could the market do, right? So what do markets do in general? So it can help deploy proven technologies at scale. It can help innovation and bringing new technologies to us. It brings integrity to those technologies through the scale and volume of trading in those markets. It can offer an implicit price on carbon, maybe even an explicit price on carbon. Maybe we can get there. I think we can. And it can allow companies and individuals to access these things simply and efficiently without long, complex bilateral contracting. That's what markets need to get to. That's where the market needs to get to. I can tell you, and Christoph and Jan will know, it took us a solid 8 months to get our contract signed. It was a long process, but it was actually a relatively fun process when I look back on it, which I think things are when they're arduous. You look back on them and you sort of recognize what it took you to get there and the work that went into it, but it was truly something that we enjoyed getting to. But what I think is important about the voluntary carbon market, it is still a very disaggregated market. You can go to Climeworks' website and buy carbon dioxide removals. You can go to Puro and buy carbon dioxide removals and nature-based things. You can go to Patch. You can go directly to brokers. You can go directly to project developers. It's still this very disaggregated sort of messy spider web of ways to access carbon removal. But the other thing that the VCM is it's us. It's everyone in this room and everyone on the phone. It's the scientists and the technologists, and it's the engineers, and it's the buyers, and it's the project developers. It's us. We are the ones developing this market right now. The people on this stage who I've had the pleasure of getting to listen to all day today, and said many, many important and technical things about the market. I'm a more philosophical person, so I think about this stuff in a very philosophical way, and that's how I'm going to talk about it. How, by the way, as a philosophical person, I survived in a bank for 20 years is anyone's guess, but here I am. So I wanted to talk a little bit, it's sort of an ask, and I wrote these down while I was listening to everyone today, of this is how I asked my team to interact with these markets and how I asked them to interact with project developers and anyone we talk to who supports the work that we do in this space. And I'd ask you to do the same if you can. So the first one is be solution-oriented. The problems are abundant. I know that. They're out there and they're super easy to see. If anybody rides motorcycles or flies airplanes, there is one rule that you always learn very early on. You don't look at the obstacle. If you look at the obstacle, you will hit the obstacle. Try to look past the obstacles. Try to see solutions and be solution-oriented. When I was a kid, my first job in high school was working at a pizzeria. I was a line cook in the back. I guess they didn't want me out front making pizzas, but one day, I was back there, it was a Friday, I'll never forget, it was next to a movie theater, super busy night. I was making, I don't remember what, but I went to get some sauce out of the pot of sauce that had been boiling for the entire day, as sauce is supposed to be. And I smelled like a burning smell. If anybody knows anything about Italian cooking, if you burn the sauce, you've ruined the day. And I had burned the sauce. And so I went out front to Rick, the owner, and I said, Rick, I burned the sauce. And Rick said, the first step is identifying the problem. And I immediately realized that my reaction to this problem was the wrong reaction. The reaction should have been to find a solution, not to just identify the problem. And so we will all identify problems along the way, but be solution-oriented. Find a solution, try to look past the obstacles, and I think that will help a lot in moving this market forward. The second is be decisive and act with urgency. And when you do make decisions, be bold about them and talk about them and be boisterous and tell the world you did them, and don't be modest. It's so important that when we do these things in this space that we talk about them and we tell people why we do them and that it matters to us, and that, I think one of the issues I've seen with this space is right now the people who are loudest are project developers and verifiers and rating agencies, and that's good. But it is ultimately could be viewed as self-serving. Buyers need to step into this space and into the light and say, listen, this matters to us. This is important to us. We believe these technologies are ready to scale and ready to be purchased at scale. We are ready, and I think that goes a long way. So be bold. But don't take decisiveness and urgency as acting with haste, right? So think long and hard about what it is that your corporation, your business, your whatever needs, and solve for that. And so something I learned a long time ago is if you have 10 seconds to make a decision, think for 9. And so I apply that to this space. We have to act with urgency, but we need to do it in a very thoughtful way. The next is be an educator, not an elitist. It is so easy in this space to feel like you know a lot. It is a barbell. Some people know nothing, and some people know everything. And when you're on the everything side, do everything you can to bring people across that traverse and help them understand what this space is and why it's important. And talk to everyone, but I'll double down on that. Get into schools and talk to kids about this stuff. We are talking about solving a problem for the next 100+ years. We are not going to solve this problem. They're going to solve this problem. So if you have the ability to and you're comfortable doing it, find ways to get into your local community and get in front of kids and talk to them about what climate change is, what the technologies to solve it are, and how they can be a part of it. Because that, to me, is so important that we bring them along on this journey. Be humble. Learn, 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 learn. You might think you know it all. You don't know it all. I guarantee you, anyone who's been on this journey for more than a few years has learned so much along the way. They thought they knew it all at the beginning. They've learned so much now. Now they think they know it all. But learn. If you don't understand organic chemistry, learn about it. That's what this entire space is all about. Go re-access that part of your brain from high school and call your chemistry teacher and say, you were right. I did need this. I'm so sorry I thought I didn't. If you don't understand investing and you think that's a problem in this market, go understand investing. Understand how capital gets deployed. Understand how investors make decisions. Understand how you de-risk things. Understand it. Learn, 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 learn. So important. Be collaborative. We're not going to get this done on our own. JPMorgan doesn't, so we work with everyone out there. We work with Direckt. We've joined Frontier. We've used B0. We use Silvera. We don't believe that we're going to make any decision on our own. Collective action is how we will solve climate change. Be resilient. We talk a lot about the positives and the direction of travel that we're heading in, and all the graphs show that you're doing great. There will be setbacks along the way. Be resilient. Be ready to deal with those things. Be ready to push through. Be ready to find the solutions and move through them. And then I would ask you to be flexible. There's a quote by George Bernard Shaw that goes something to the effect of, those who cannot change their mind cannot change the world. And so again, back to that learning and educating yourself piece, constantly learn about this space and change your mind. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to do it differently, as long as you feel like you're on the right course. And lastly, be persistent. And so I want to finish with a little bit of a story that goes something like this. So about 16 years ago, a young analyst at JPMorgan Chase, sitting in a cubicle at 10 p.m. at 345 Park Avenue on the 11th floor, clicked send on an email to Jamie Dimon. And the email said something to the effect of, hey, Jamie, you don't know me. I'm an analyst here. I recently read an article that said that we were recycling ceiling tiles and carpet when we were renovating one of our branches. And I think that's pretty cool. I bet we do a lot of stuff around sustainability. We should talk about it more. I would like to establish some green teams, random, just made sense, it rhymes, right? Some green teams around the bank to be more vocal about this stuff. I went home, questioned a lot of my life choices in sending the CEO an email on like my third week on the job. By the way, it's me, in case you guys were wondering who the analyst was. I came in at 6 a.m. the next day and had an email from Jamie. And the email said, great idea, love it. Here's a name for someone in corporate responsibility. You should talk to them about this. About the same time, Jan and Christoph were sitting at ETH Zurich talking about carbon capture, a DAC, and trying to build this incredible machine that we're all sitting here celebrating today. Over a 16-year period, they developed Climeworks. And over a 16-year period, I developed into the head of operational sustainability at JPMorgan. And we got together about a year plus ago. Jan and I met at 383 Madison, and we talked a little bit about how we could work together. Then I came to this summit in June of last year, and I sat where you all are, and I listened to everyone speak, and I thought, how can I be a part of this? How do I do more? How can I use my platform and my voice and the name of JPMorgan to do more? And the next day, they invited me to their office, and I sat down with a few of the Burks and Barbara and Christoph, and we chatted a bit about it. And Christoph challenged me, and he said, listen, I know you want to do a lot with us. Let's do something. Let's just start with an offtake agreement. Let's just start somewhere. And that kicked off the 8-month process of the contract that we signed. The how we did it and how we got JPMorgan there is complicated. As you can imagine, it wasn't an easy journey. There was a lot of initial resistance to it, but initially, like I said, if you bring people along on the journey and help them understand what you're trying to do, you can get there. And so I'm happy at any point today or in the future to talk about how we did that, how we built the business case internally, how we built a portfolio of solutions that ultimately nets to $250 a ton so that we could get this through the conversation within our firm, how we supported multiple technologies, how we're trying to support the market. I'm happy to talk about that stuff. But I have one last ask of you as my time is running out here. Beat us. Beat us. Do a bigger contract. Push the bar. We move the bar from here to here, move it to there. Somebody is out there who is in the audience today who will be here next year. You guys can do it. I'm looking forward to it. Challenge us. Challenge yourself. And thank you for the time today. Good luck.